Hello and welcome back to Buckle Up. I'm Harry King and this is the BYD Seal U DM-i. And today I'm going to find out if it's any good. Let's begin with styling. You will see immediately a recognisable BYD face, which is crazy to say because this brand on UK soil is like less than 2 years old, but definitely matches up to the Seal saloon car that's EV only. For some reason, well, I'll get onto the name more later, but this is the Seal U and it's a crossover. You've got these nice curves in the daytime running lights, big BYD badge up at the front, and down the side, we get so much chrome. I feel, obviously there's some at the front, but this is a good time to tackle the chrome thing. This is a Chinese car brand, and they really like their bright work. So I've got it obviously round the windows. This is bright work up here. I've got it on top of the door handles, so you can check out your nostril hair, and also down here at the bottom. Lovely 19-inch alloy wheels. They look very premium. And then I have this here. This is the charge flap, for this is a PHEV. I have a matching one on the other side where you pop in a bit of petrol if you'd like to, sir. This does support fast charging, CCS fast charging, so you can recharge quite quickly, which is good because it does have quite a large battery and up to 80 miles of all-electric range. Very impressive indeed. Now, round at the back, here we find the aforementioned name of the vehicle. The egregiously long badge that's actually so long it's on 2 lines. So let's go through it, shall we? BYD, that's just the name of the company. It used to stand for Build Your Dreams, but now it doesn't really anymore. They've got rid of that because they realised it was slightly embarrassing. Seal, that means that this is a sort of family-sized vehicle. And then the U means utility, and that means it's a crossover. So you have more utility in the boot, I guess, than you do in the normal Seal. Then the DMI stands for dual mode intelligence, and that's to point out the fact that this is a PHEV, but not just any PHEV. This is a PHEV that puts electricity first, according to BYD, which is not Build Your Dreams. That's enough of letters and acronyms and other things. I think the key thing I actually want to point out here is having a car called a Seal and a car called a Seal U is probably quite confusing for most people. The DMI, you can take it or leave it. It's more like an engine trim level than anything else, but BYD do insist on putting it in the model name for some reason. Otherwise, back of the car, it's actually quite plain back here. You've got a rear wiper though, which is good to see because you don't always get a rear wiper when you've got such a slanted rear screen, and you've got a nice aero spoiler up here as well. You've also got some more bright work down at the bottom, but I'll pop open the electronic opening tailgate. Now is probably a good time to mention, because it's not on the boot lid, this is a boost trim level. I like BYD's trim levels because they go A, B, C, D, E. So active, boost, dynamic, so on and so forth. At the moment, you can only get this in boost, comfort and dynamic, I believe. So this is the entry-level car with its electric tailgate and lots more goodies on the inside that I will get to. In here you find a bag for charging cables, which unfortunately will not fit under the false boot floor, but you can lift the boot floor slightly if you want to have a continuous load space when you drop the passenger seats. Look at that, a lovely continuous load space, definitely big enough for your IKEA drawers. Slides all the way through. Now I'm going to slide all the way through into those back seats and tell you about them. It's absolutely lovely back here. These seats are humongous and very soft, and they recline. You also get seat back pockets, air vents, 2 USB-C ports, a tiny little cubby down there, and a central armrest with 2 cup holders in it. You also get bottle holders in the doors and a full-length panoramic sunroof, which makes it lovely and bright and airy back here, which is good for small children who maybe can't see quite out of the windows. But speaking of those small children, there's also ISOFIX for them, and it's just open, exposed, easy to use. It's what we like to see. How is it in the front? It's just as nice up here as it is in the back. Nicer, even. Materials, let's start there. Soft touch everywhere. This is slightly harsher vinyl-y plastic. There is some more hard plastic quite low down in the cabin. But in general, you've got this kind of pleasant pleather material just festooned about the place. I've got more bright work. They love a bit of bright work. and some nice piano black up on the dashboard. The steering wheel is leather trimmed. Excellent job of making this feel very premium, and just the most humongous screen here in the center. I'm going to talk very briefly about the digital driver's display. So that is also fully digital and quite large. You've got your information about your speed and what power you're using, and then obviously your battery charge state and your fuel state. The screen though is quite stupendous. So first things first, party trick of any BYD, it spins round. So if you want it portrait, you can have it portrait. If you want it landscape, you can have it landscape. The caveat to this is it will not do portrait Android Auto. But as you can see, you've got all your apps and information and everything. The screen is super responsive. If we go into the nav, let's see how quick BYD's native system is. So we'll go to our usual favorite destination. It's taking a bit of time. Start. That was actually pretty quick. Not the fastest, but it's up there. That's really good. And you've got your climate screen. Now this is, as far as I'm concerned, a slight downside. There are no physical climate controls here. You've got everything in the screen, including your heated and cooled seats in this, the entry-level model, and your heated steering wheel. But it's a bit of a faff to try and do this while you're also in Android Auto, for example, because you have to go in and then you can kind of swipe up and there's your temperature and fan and stuff, but it's just all a bit fiddly. What you have though instead is you can, hey, can you open the driver's window? Can you turn on the heated steering wheel?
Okay, turning on steering wheel heat. So
you don't actually need to go and use all the buttons because you can use the voice control and it does actually work, which is a first as far as I'm concerned with car voice controls. They're always hopeless. But there you go. That's the workaround, and it does actually work. I can say that. So I'm going to put it above VW and MG in usability. Otherwise, in the interior, two big wireless Qi chargers down here. They work really well. They're super fast and they don't overheat your phone. I'm not quite sure how though, because I can't find any ventage in there, but my phone has not overheated while it's been charging, which is some kind of wizardry. Underneath the center console, there is a large cubby space with two traditional USB-C charge ports and a 12-volt socket. So if you want to plug in, you can. This is wireless, obviously. I've got a select amount of buttons here in the center. So I've got my drive selector, which looks a lot like a German brand's drive selector. I've got a couple of climate shortcuts, so I can turn it on and off there, and I can turn on my demist with a button, which is quite handy, and set auto. On the steering wheel, I've got my controls for the radio and the smart cruise, which works very well, and I can also turn on my surround view cameras. So obviously the left-hand one doesn't work because we're filming this through the door, but you can make the car see-through. You can select what you want to see. If I look through the front to the back, both sides at once, obviously that's a view of the wheel. Otherwise, practicality up here. I've got air vents, which are lovely. Obviously, you've seen how they all work. I've got a full-size glove box. They've not chopped half of it out for the fuse box. I've got a large center console storage area. Really quite large indeed, actually. I'll get my arm all the way in it. Two cup holders. The cubby down there I've already mentioned. Bottle holders in the doors, as well as a bit of space behind it for various normal pocket things. And then the seats themselves are electric, as well as being heated and cooled. Very easy to get in a comfortable position. Plenty of adjustment in the steering wheel as well. And of course, the all-important sunglasses holder. My favourite feature of any vehicle. Sun visors work well also, and obviously there is a blind for the sunroof, or it fully opens if you want it to. If I press that again, and it really opens quite wide. There's a lot of space there. Then obviously if I get tired of pushing buttons, I can say, please close the sunroof. Lovely. Well, it looks like we're ready to drive then. Okay, so driving the BYD Seal U DM-i. Let's start with some facts and figures. 214 brake horsepower, 300 newton meters of torque. It's a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder engine, and obviously a hybrid powertrain. front-wheel drive in this, available with all-wheel drive, but in this one, that is a 0 to 62 time of 8.9 seconds, which is plenty quick enough. Now, the way the DMI system works is quite clever and also quite complex, and the way that BYD market it is as a CVT. There is more to it than that, but if you want to know more, I would suggest reading an article, and I'm just going to basically say it's a CVT gearbox, even though I know if you're technical, there is more to it than that. But that's what the driving experience is like. Although I must say, if you put your foot down, it doesn't rev hang very badly. It's actually quite quiet. You're getting a lot of power from the electric motors. So actually, in terms of the downsides of a CVT system, I'm really not noticing them. And the response is really good as well, especially on the move. From a get-go, especially if the engine's off, it can be a little sluggish off the line. But in most circumstances, the pickup's really, really good, actually, because you basically have 300 newton meters on tap nearly all the time, thanks to the electronic assistance. Otherwise, the driving experience, it's very, very competent. It's a comfy car, fairly softly sprung. The steering rack is quite slow, is maybe the biggest outlier I've noticed. You do quite a lot of steering, especially around town. You'll often find yourself past 90 degrees, which isn't the end of the world, but it just might be something you're not expecting. But the brake feel, the throttle feel are good. Every so often you get a little creak from the brakes as you come to a stop, but it's really not a big issue. So it's a nice, comfortable car to drive. There's not much engagement, there's not much feel in the steering. And as I've said, it's slow. There's a decent weighting to the steering, but it's electric. There's not really a huge feel there. The upside, though, even though this is front-wheel drive and with fairly healthy power figures, I haven't noticed any torque steer. It doesn't really scrabble under hard acceleration. It's very planted on the road. And actually, overall, even though I've described the suspension as comfortable, it's very planted. Round a quicker corner, it stays controlled. It's a very, very, very good compromise, I've got to say. Comparable with the best in class in terms of how comfortable and quiet it is in here. And then the tech, I've got to mention the tech. In fact, I'm going to turn the tech on even though I'm on an A road. So we're set to 53, but this is auto steer on this kind of broken road, and it is driving me around these corners. Like that shouldn't be possible. Very, very, very good self-drive systems, and also the radar cruise is nice and intelligent. It doesn't pogo you back and forth. It just follows the car in front very well, even if they're driving fairly erratically. I've really got to give it to it on a tech front. This car is outstanding, and at the price this is at, I'm gobsmacked, to be honest. It would be very difficult to justify spending more money on a car. I love the Hyundai Tucson. I think the Hyundai Tucson's brilliant, but it's more expensive than this. And you have to climb quite a long way up their spec levels to get this level of equipment. I don't know, it's just, if you're looking at it from a cost perspective, I feel like I'm really losing nothing here. Maybe, the exterior styling isn't quite as nice. It looks a little awkward from some angles, but is that going to bother you day to day? Probably not. It's the same as the MG HS, and, well, here's the thing. MG have a so-so reputation for reliability and a very poor reputation for dealership standard. BYD is still very new. This is their first PHEV in the UK. So I can't speak much in terms of historical reliability, but the dealerships that I know who've got a BYD franchise are good dealerships. I'm not seeing a drawback. I'm just not seeing a drawback. Also, the economy figures are fantastic. So WLTP says that this will do 313 miles per gallon. Obviously, that's just nonsense. But I've had it in the mode where I'm holding charge. So I've been around 70% charge in all the time I've had the car. It doesn't discharge, even under spirited driving. And even though it's just holding charge, and I haven't charged it externally, it's still achieving quite easily 40 mpg under mixed driving conditions. So it's very economical. If you fully utilised the plug-in system and actually used up the EV range and recharged it properly, you'd not be spending very much money to drive this car around. And it is big and practical and has everything you'd need, all the things, all the space for your family. I think, though, I've probably said enough, because you can quite clearly tell I'm just very, very impressed by this car. So let's go back and do a proper conclusion. Right then, what do I think about the BYD Seal U DM-i? I think the name is too long and pointless, but otherwise this is an excellent car. Great value, so much spec, super comfortable, brilliantly efficient. What's not to love? So if you're in the market for a family crossover, I strongly recommend checking out this BYD Seal U DM-i. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. You find all the links to all our social medias down in the description. You'll also find 2 ways that you can support the channel. So we have channel merchandise that I'm currently sporting a very, very old hoodie. They don't come with this pre-threaded look. You have to love them yourself to make this happen. And also we have channel memberships right here on YouTube. So please go and do one or all of those things, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.